Welcome to the NAIOP Southern Nevada Breakfast Program. I'm Matthew Hoyt, and I have the privilege of serving as your chapter president this year. Good morning to everyone here at the Orleans and everyone joining by Zoom. For all of you that are here in the room, you'll find notepads at your tables. Please write down any questions you have during the program, and Dan Tuntland with the Programs Committee will collect them for our Q&A session from 9 o'clock to 9:15. Today we have some very special guests in the audience. I'd like to recognize our elected officials that are in attendance here today. Please stand and be recognized. Henderson Mayor Michelle Romero. And Henderson Councilman Jim Seebuck. We'd also like to recognize our UNLV students in attendance today. I'm told we have 20 students here. If you're a student, please stand and welcome to NAIOP. If you all see students, they'll be wearing a green name tag. Please welcome them to the industry. They're our future. I'd also like to note that we have a CALV symposium that NAIOP is the lunch sponsor for a week from today. That will be at the LVR building. The morning session covers the Nevada Lands Act and offers 3 credits of continuing education. And the afternoon is legislative update, 3 continuing education credits for law. NAIOP is the lunch sponsor that day. That's on September 25th. Earlier this month, NAIOP's national conference, CRE Converge, was held in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Several of our board members attended. More than 1,100 commercial real estate leaders came together for high-level insights, networking, tours, and more. If you have any questions about getting more involved at the corporate level or attending future conferences, please reach out to our local representation, Julie Cleaver and Dave Strickland. Now let's take a moment to recognize our President's Circle sponsors. They're a critical component to the success of our NAIOP chapter. This year we have 5 platinum sponsors. Thank you to each one. City of North Las Vegas, a new platinum sponsor this year. Cox Business, who has supported our chapter for over 21 years. Gatsky Commercial, now known as Lincoln Gatsky Commercial, has supported us at the platinum level since 2022. Martin Harris Construction, supporter since 2001. And Schnitzer Properties since 2000. Thank you to our platinum level sponsors. We also want to thank our 10 gold level sponsors: Burke Construction Group, Inc., Clark County Community and Economic Development, EBS Realty Partners, Heller Companies, LLC, Howard Hughes, Kimley Horn and Associates, Majestic Realty Company, Prologis, Southern Nevada Water Authority, and Unforgettable Coatings. Thank you to our 10 gold level sponsors. Now please turn to the screen as we recognize our silver sponsors. Our bronze level sponsors, and our copper level sponsors. I'm happy to report that support from our President's Circle sponsors has reached an all-time high in 2025. If you're not currently a President's Circle sponsor, it's still a great time to join. New applications for 2026 sponsorship will be available next week. If interested, please stop by the registration table for a package, or talk to myself, Lisa Brady with Prologis, Katrina, or Jonna. One final announcement that's near and dear to me is the 2025 Developing Leaders Institute class graduated yesterday. Will the graduates from the class please stand and be recognized? Over this past week, after successfully completing a 12-month educational program, these young professionals presented their final projects. There were 4 teams who presented to presented a development project to a group of judges, our very own development dudes. Each and every project was outstanding, and it's been an honor to be involved with this program and these young professionals. This program has been integral to building the leadership within our organization and industry. These class members are clearly passionate about what they do, and I know that the future is bright for NAIOP and the industry, Southern Nevada with them, the commercial real estate industry in Southern Nevada with them. Again, please put your hands together for the 2025 Developing Leaders Institute graduates and outstanding achievement. I'd like to call the winning team to the stage for a brief presentation of their project. Can I have Gotham Bashityavar with Martin Harris Construction, Boyden Bullock with EBS Realty Partners, Brooke Holmes with Brownstein Hyatt Farber Schreck, Lillian Kossoff with JLL, Trevor Olkowski with Colliers, and Angelo Venson with Kimley Horn. Please come to the stage to present your project.
Hi, good morning, everyone. We were Blue Tag Development, and we did the Camino Commerce Center Industrial Distribution Warehouse project. It was conveniently located right off of the 215 on El Camino in West Sunset. 2 tilt-up construction buildings, approximately 75,000 square feet and 78,000 square feet with mezzanine office space.
I guess I'll jump in here. We were trying to provide really a turnkey experience for the tenants, and so we were speccing out office, HVAC, warehouse lights, dock levelers, secured truck court, really being able to attract a wide range of tenants, and had a wide range of unit sizes as small as 12,000, and then the ability to lease the full building. We were continuing to see demand in the Southwest for light industrial, so that tenants are able to service the Strip corridor and our local communities. And so that's why we chose the location and that product type. And yeah, proud of this Blue Tag development team. So thank you.
Congratulations, guys. Now I'd like to do our committee announcements. Can I have representatives from the bus tour, community service, education, spotlight awards, and membership? Please go to the microphone.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tice O'Neill with CBRE. I'm up here on behalf of the Bus Tour Committee. We're just a couple months away. The event will be held here, the Orleans, November 13th. Early bird pricing is live right now, so if you register now, you'll save some money. We're looking for one more sponsor for one room, $3,500. So if you're interested, please reach out to myself or Morgan Elson with Colliers. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Megan McInerney with Colliers here on behalf of the Community Service Committee, and we're super excited to be announcing our annual Thanksgiving meal collection and delivery to support 40 families of Walter Long Elementary School. We'll provide them with their Thanksgiving meals and then groceries to supplement their pantries through the holidays. So there's going to be a lot of ways you can get involved. You can either purchase donations to support these families, or we're going to have a really fun packing, sorting day. We decorate all of these baskets really nicely, and we could really use a lot of your help. So please be on the lookout in your emails for more information to come. Thanks, everyone.
Good morning, Jennifer Turchin with Coda Group on behalf of the Education Committee. We have our last education program on October 23rd, so save the date. The registration will be open for that soon, and we're going to be talking about aging assets and redevelopment. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Gaetana Kafasa with Burke Construction on behalf of the Spotlight Awards Committee. Save the date. Our 29th annual event will be on Saturday, February 28th at Red Rock Casino. This year's theme is NAIOP on Broadway, and we do have sponsorships open now, and anybody looking to submit your project or industry awards, you have until Friday, October 3rd. Thanks.
Good morning, Tanya Carrasco with Wright Engineers. On behalf of the membership committee, I want to remind you all that today early bird registration ends for the social event of the year. It is next Thursday, September 25th, so I hope you all join us. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Each month, we like to recognize our new and returning members. We have 10 new members this month. If you're a new member, please stand and welcome to NAIOP. I'm happy to report that we were ranked as the 7th largest chapter. If you recall last month, we were one spot away from 7, so we got there, so congratulations to us on that. A quick thank you to our membership committee for continuing to tout the value of NAIOP membership. If you've never been a member, now is the time. We have over 350 people in-person attendees today, a continued record at our events. I've been saying this since my first time at the podium in December. Our chapter truly is the best. It's because of all your continued attendance and commitment to our NAIOP programs that we are the place to network and get informed. I'm no longer surprised by the excellent turnout at our events. I truly believe the benefits of getting involved and being a NAIOP member have never been better. There's a few ways to join if you're not a member. You can stop at the registration table outside. You can visit our website and join online. You can call the NAIOP office, or you can reach out to anyone with a membership committee ribbon on their name tag. We'd also like to thank our 2025 breakfast meeting sponsors: American Nevada Realty, Carpenter Seller Delgado Architects, City of North Las Vegas, Cox Business, Martin Harris Construction, NV Energy, Panettone Development Company, Schnitzer Properties, Southern Nevada Water Authority, the Whiting Turner Contracting Company, and our Wi-Fi sponsor, Gatsky Commercial, now known as Lincoln Gatsky Commercial. Thank you to our breakfast meeting sponsors. And a special thank you to this morning's meeting sponsor, Carpenter Sellers Delgado Architects, who is also a Copper President's Circle sponsor. I'd like to call Mike Delgado, Principal and VP. Mike, welcome to the stage.
Good morning, everybody. It's truly an honor for us to sponsor breakfast this morning. We did request champagne and mimosas for everybody, but I don't know if that's still coming or not, but we'll check on it. But truly, we have a lot of projects scrolling on the screen, and so many of them are full of NAIOP members as some portion of the project team. So those relationships are truly important and special to us. I invite you, when you leave here today, to take a look across the street. We have our third culinary health center under construction. Amazing client. They provide amazing service to the Culinary Union members, comprehensive health care. And that project's an integrated project delivery, which is somewhat new in the Valley. And if you have any questions about that delivery method, feel free to reach out to our office. We're also fortunate to be doing a project for Clark County that will be under construction next year that you'll see popping up at the to the southeast. It's a new campus for the Clark County Fire Training. So be training our first responders. It's a very special project. So again, really appreciate all the relationships we have in the room. We're a company that's built to be equally passionate about design and client service. And so if there's ever any questions we can answer for you, any information we can provide, please reach out. But thank you for all your past collaborations and your friendships. Have a great breakfast.
Thanks once again to Carpenter Sellers Delgado Architects. As you know, our programs committee has been putting out the best programs in the business. One of the reasons our programs are so outstanding is audience participation. This is one last reminder. We have Q&A session at the end of the program for our in-person attendees. There are pens and paper at your tables, which will be collected. Q&A starts at 9 o'clock, and our program will conclude at 9:15. So let's segue into today's program, entitled Powering the Future Data Centers and Utilities Infrastructure in Southern Nevada. I'm pleased to introduce our program panel, starting with our moderator, Brent Nassett, Site Development Consultant at Kimley Horn. Brent has 18 years of experience working on a wide range of site development, transportation, energy, and military infrastructure projects. His expertise includes initial due diligence, entitlement planning, and conceptual master planning, with a strong track record of securing complex approvals from local, state, and federal agencies. Brett has led projects in both rural and urban settings, including multi-use transit-oriented redevelopment efforts. He's also a civil engineering officer in the Air Force Air National Guard with over 20 years of military service and experience supporting large infrastructure projects both domestically and abroad. Brent currently serves as the 2025 president of NAIOP Northern Nevada, my counterpart, where he is actively engaged in government affairs throughout the state. Welcome to the stage, Brent. I'd also like to introduce the remaining panelists to the stage one by one. Stephen Boyce is the Vice President of Mission Critical at Novva Data Centers. He has been involved in the IT and data center space for 20 years. Stephen has worked on multiple successful startups and enjoys the energy that comes from working with a good team on disruptive projects that challenge the status quo. Welcome to the stage, Steve. Jeff Brigger is the Director of Business Development and Major Accounts for NV Energy. He directs and manages the planning, development, implementation, and marketing of statewide growth strategies and economic development programs for NV Energy, and leads a team that is responsible for managing NV Energy's largest customers. Welcome to the stage. Colby Pellegrino is the Deputy General Manager of Resources for the Southern Nevada Water Authority and the Las Vegas Valley Water District. She joined the agency in 2003 and is responsible for the management of the Water Authority's water resource portfolio, which includes protecting Nevada's interest and rights to Colorado River water through interstate negotiations, developing regional water conservation programs, managing groundwater resources, and water resource planning. Welcome to the stage, Colby. And lastly, Stephen Roberts is the Vice President of Construction Development at Switch Data Centers, where he directs site due diligence, master campus planning, site permitting, and land acquisition initiatives. With over 20 years of experience in the construction industry, Stephen brings deep technical expertise and a strong engineering background to his leadership role. During his time on the Switch development team, they have successfully led the acquisition of more than 4,000 acres, contributing to the strategic growth of Switch's infrastructure portfolio. Welcome to the stage, Steve.
Thank you.
Welcome to the stage, everyone, and I'll turn the time over to our moderator. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, well, welcome everyone. When we were planning this event, we thought there would be about 250 attendees, and now there's 375 attendees. So, 50% growth of what we thought, which is kind of like the premise of this whole panel today is, you plan for this, but you should really expect 2x, 3x of what's coming. And I think that's probably what we've seen over the last couple of years. So I want to address a little bit of the elephant in the room. As you know, the data center industry across the country is exploding. But the economy is kind of slow. Like I think in recent, for those of you who are up in Toronto for CRE Converge recently, a big NAIOP event, there was some discussion about how nationally the economy is growing at about a 0.3% interest or growth rate year over year. So it's pretty slow. And if you look at the investment in data centers, if that wasn't there, it's very likely our country would be in a recession. So I think this is an important topic today because there's a lot of challenges with data centers, but there's also a tremendous amount of opportunity. And I think that's what's exciting about being here today. When you look back in time at where data centers were, they were largely in Silicon Valley. Maybe there was some in Virginia. In the last couple of years, especially with AI, the algorithm for data centers has changed. It goes where power is available. And so we're seeing data centers in every corner of the market. Every state has a data center that's going in there. And there's a lot of discussions that's happening across the country right now. And unfortunately, a lot of those conversations are happening in silos. I think there's a lot of corners of the room that are not talking to each other. And I think that's what makes NAIOP here in Southern Nevada great. I think that's what makes Nevada great, and especially this market in general, is this is a market where we talk to each other. We get into a room and we talk about, what does this mean for our community? What does this mean for the folks that are involved in construction? What does this mean for the people that are not involved in the development community at all, that are just living here? And I think this robust discussion that we're having today is just a step in the right direction, and I applaud the people in the room. I applaud NAIOP. I applaud each of you because we have two folks from the public utilities. We have two folks that are owner-operators, and we're all up here trying to figure out, how do we manage this? How do we manage the communication? What does it mean for data center development in Nevada? Don't go on the internet and grab something because some of that might not be actually true. So again, looking at data centers, sometimes it could be 100 times more energy intensive than a normal commercial building. That's crazy. In 2022, there was 4 gigawatts of data center, that was brought online. Depending on what you read, it could be anywhere from 100 gigawatts to 400 gigawatts. That's from 2025 to 2030. So we're seeing just a crazy amount of growth, and that's exposing a lot of challenges. But again, I think what's fun about this is we're talking about the opportunity. We're talking about the collaboration that's already been taking place over the last couple of years and what's going to need to be happening over the next few years. So again, I just want to thank everyone for being here. I think this is really fun to have the conversation in person. And I just want to applaud and thank each of the panelists, because having this conversation in public, I think, is really great. And I think there's a way that we can, get some of the myths and the misnomers out. So with that, I think we can get started. So Steve and Steven, we've got our two Steves up here. I'm going to start with you. And maybe start with you, Steve. The background on what your company does, what you're seeing in the market, like what do you see in the next 5 to 10 years? Maybe just give me a little bit of things or tell the audience a little bit about what you're thinking about.
I really should have brought my crystal ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard to say. So Novva is only about 6 years old, roughly, as a startup. But its executive team's been in this mix for 18 to 20 years, and we've never seen anything like it. When we were developing, planning ahead for Novva, we'd be looking at all these little things that Tesla might be doing and all the data that they're going to need to store and stuff like that. And it wasn't 2 years later then we'd sold our entire building, just leased it overnight, which we never anticipated. We expected that to happen, over a 5 to 8 year period, just based on previous experience. So it's just an example of how you can't predict the future based on historical trends. Yeah. The other thing that's happened in unison, if you will, or parallel to it, is the density of everything. So we've had to, and I'm sure that you guys are dealing with the exact same thing, but you have to be innovative, and you just can't stick to this is how it is, this is how we've done it. Sometimes you have to throw everything away while you're in the middle of it. And so being able to sit with this kind of a group of people, and I know that based on my experience, you guys absolutely hate that. You hate that we give you a set of drawings and halfway through we go, oh crap, this is going to happen or that's going to happen. And the thing that's going to make you super valuable is going to be being able to adapt.
Yeah, sure. So again, I'm honored to be here. Thank you all. Switch is a technology infrastructure company. We were founded in the year 2000, happily homegrown here in Las Vegas. So we're 25 years old. We have campuses around the country in Reno, Grand Rapids, Michigan, Atlanta, Georgia, and in Austin, Texas. And to Steve's point, really the density and the hockey stick growth that you've seen in the last 2-3 years alone is really unparalleled. So we're really, even though we're a seasoned company, really having to rapidly innovate to meet the demands of the market. And it's very difficult to do so. Just a couple of quick stats. So our legacy buildings between Decatur and Jones on the 215, you might have seen them, our giant wall that everybody knows. Those, for a server rack, those would average around 15 kilowatts per cabinet, if you will. And now the demands that we're seeing are like 150 or more. So it's really like 10x the demand. So we really had to kind of change our design, almost like start over from scratch to design a liquid cooling solution that could cater to that. So our latest design, which is under construction, can support up to 2 megawatts per cabinet. So just this scale is just, off the charts. So we're really, again, rapidly innovating to meet the demands of the market.
Yeah.
Which, if I could just say, is stupid crazy.
Yeah. It's hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, because some buildings used to be 20 to 30 megawatts for the entire building, and now you're talking 2 megawatts in a single cabinet.
In a 4x4 foot space.
Yeah, a lot of innovation. That's incredible. So maybe talk a little bit about just Nevada in general. Like what makes Nevada unique? What makes Southern Nevada attractive? Like what makes it different, and maybe what makes it more challenging? I'm not sure. You want to go first there?
Steve? Oh, I thought you were talking to Jeff.
Still with you.
So, Nevada's got its own set of challenges, just like it always has, and that is heat, right? And then now we're putting most of that heat in a building, And so we've got to figure out how to get that heat out of the building. And it's kind of funny, our CEO a few years ago had challenged me with trying to find a way to do some, if you're in some areas, capturing that heat is valuable. People try to find ways to do stuff with greenhouses, et cetera. And so he said the same thing. He's like, we want you to try and find ways to capture this. I told him that in Las Vegas, that's called air conditioning. So, but that's kind of the challenge, as you see. You know, it's not like you can just take that. We have to get different types of chillers that can operate in a higher ambient temperature, and in some cases we actually have to get the vendors to work with us in designing them specific for this area. And the nice thing is that it's helped us to be able to eliminate a lot of different vendors and find people that are more willing to work with us. It's allowed us to be able to find ways to be more efficient, which benefits. But the biggest challenge is and now Jeff's got to duck his head. There's really three of them: the heat, water, and power. Right? Those are the big things. There's plenty of land, and then the only other thing I'd like to add to that is that. And hopefully with some of the new legislation and things that are coming along, BLM can get out of the way and help us get power and move forward with some of the different things that we're working on.
Great, thank you. Stephen, anything?
Yeah, I come from the construction side, so I'll talk to that first. You know, I said in our earlier call, the soils are fantastic. Right, so you don't have to worry about deep foundations or drilling, piers deep into the ground. You can build basically 365 days a year because it never rains here. If it does, it's for 15 minutes. We have a very, obviously it's our home, so we're always going to grow and kind of take care of our home. We have a very deep pool of contractors that know our widget, like we like to say. So especially when we have a new prototype, we like to build the first one of its kind here because we have the most control over it. Our executive team is here. And then I'll add that the grid is really reliable. In my tenure, I've been here 7 years, there's only been one instance where we had to run our generators, and that was because of transformer issue. It wasn't grid related. So I think we have a really high degree of confidence in what NV Energy provides. And again, it's our home. So the proximity to California, while you're in a low tax environment comparatively, low latency, kind of the speed to get to Silicon Valley and to kind of the uses in California is important. So it's another reason. And then, Switch was originally founded because when Enron went bankrupt, all of that cross-country backbone converged underneath of a building on East Sahara. And so Rob bought that building, Rob Roy, our founder, bought that building out of auction, and that's really the first facility that Switch had. So the fiber optic backbone is really unparalleled for as small of a market as we are nationally. Everything sort of converged here. So we were sort of an IT cooperative and then just grew from there.
That's awesome. That's such a cool story. Well, I think we're going to transition a little bit to Colby. I think it's kind of interesting, just again, the water discussion about data centers. And I know there's been a lot of conversations, and I feel like that's a topic that's very local because it changes depending on where you're at. So maybe give us a little bit of background on what your organization is doing, and then like as you hear these asks from the development community, what has that been like for your organization over the last couple of years? Like what sort of innovation have you been trying to do? What sort of balance are you trying to strike?
Absolutely. So I don't think I turned my mic on. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for having me here, first of all. So Southern Nevada Water Authority is my primary hat, but I also work for the Las Vegas Valley Water District. So for those not familiar with our structure, Southern Nevada Water Authority is essentially the wholesale water provider to the valley. We provide the major infrastructure that takes the water out of the lake and delivers it to whoever you're getting your water bill from, whether that's Las Vegas Valley Water District, City of Henderson, North Las Vegas, Boulder City. Then the Las Vegas Valley Water District is the largest of those retail agencies. So what Southern Nevada Water Authority does is one, the infrastructure side that all of our members need, but two is coordinates the regional water supply planning. And inherent in that planning is water conservation. So how do we meet the demands of this community for the next 50 years? And then working cooperatively with our member agencies to make sure we're implementing that uniformly regardless of where you're developing in Clark County. Because what we've seen in other places, in particular places that have lots of really small municipalities, is the rules are different whether you're on one side of the road versus the other. It makes it very hard to enforce. It makes it very hard for people to understand what actually needs to be done for your resources. So we've tried very hard and largely very successfully to work and make the rules uniform across the entire valley. So if we roll back to what our community has been dealing with, I'll go to the pandemic. And I'll say that, you know, we were very closely watching water use because during the recession, we had a major reduction in water use, valley-wide across all customer classes, and obviously that creates revenue issues for us. And as the valley sort of shut down, we saw water use increase. So as the person that's my responsibility, I stopped sleeping well through the early months of the pandemic when everything was shut down. And we really had to start figuring out what was going on. One, as people were at home, they were paying more attention to what was in their yard. That's cause number one. But cause number two, we've always known that evaporative cooling was a really big component of water use, but we've done a really poor job measuring what that was. And we got to see what the resort sector water use looked like without people in hotel rooms. And it was staggering for those folks that hadn't really thought deeply about how much water evaporative cooling is using. And as our water demand continued to increase throughout the valley, we're also facing increasing uncertainty on the Colorado River as we look into the future. So we're in the process of negotiating the guidelines with the other 6 states that share the river in Mexico. Those negotiations are not going well. I could spend hours talking about it, but I won't. It's really key. Nevada gets 1.8% of the water on the Colorado River. We cannot change the trajectory of the Colorado River alone. And in the absence of us agreeing what to do, the federal government has documents on the street saying they can reduce our amount to less than 2/3 of what we're using today. So we need to be as water conscious as we can. And we need to find ways to ensure that we continue to diversify our economy, we continue to grow, and we do so with the smallest water footprint that's reasonable for us to have. There's certain things that just don't make sense here in the Las Vegas Valley. We've done a really good job of kind of naturally blocking those out. But some of what helps us hurts us. And a lot of the big water users that still come to court us come here because we have national recognition for how well we manage our water resources. So I will tell you, I've sat with 3 different bottling companies that say, you're absolutely where we want to be. You have great water resource planning. We know we're going to have water supplies. And I say, okay, where is your bottled product being sold? California. Okay, you can use their water, not mine. Thank you very much. So that's the kind of thing that we've been doing, and that's a long-winded response to your answer, but sort of we have really been working during the past 3 to 5 years to really focus in on what's every new water use that we need to say no to, and what's every new technology that we can help bring to bear to reduce the footprint of the existing community without changing our quality of life.
Yeah, wow. That was a good answer. I think everyone can kind of see like some of the tension that's in this industry and some of the demands that are being asked of our utilities. So Jeff, transitioning to you, maybe give a little bit of, for those of you who don't know, Jeff is in a lot of discussions. I feel like Jeff is up on the stage a lot, and I do want to thank Jeff because he is representing probably the largest ask always is the power demand, and it's a tremendous amount of capital, tremendous amount of infrastructure, but help us walk through what you're seeing right now. Maybe give us a little bit of overview of Nevada in general, and then take it from there.
Yeah, thanks, Brent. And thanks for the kind words from both Steves, too. Appreciate it. We've had the pleasure of working with both these companies for quite some time, so really do appreciate that. So I'll kind of walk through a little bit of NV Energy. So we're essentially two utilities, Northern Nevada and Southern Nevada, Sierra Pacific in the north, Nevada Power in the south. And we're fully integrated. So we have generation, transmission, and distribution that we serve to our customers. And in most cases, folks like Steve and Stephen take service from our transmission network. We call that high voltage distribution. The customer is required to build their own substation. We deliver our transmission infrastructure into that substation, and then they kind of control their destiny behind that. A lot of times they'll have different voltage levels that they'll use that are different than our distribution network. So inherent, it's not, and these aren't, historically, we've had a lot of these type of customers in our service territory. If you go back over 100 years in the north, we really kind of cut our teeth as a company serving very large mining loads, and that continues to be the case. So we've built infrastructure to serve those folks, and it's similar in nature. In most cases, the asks now are getting tremendous. So that's a bit of an overview of kind of what we control. We fortunately, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, we decided to invest in the Greenlink Nevada project, which I mean many of you have probably heard of, and that's essentially a 500,000 volt or 500 kV transmission circuit that will loop around the entire state. Connecting to an existing 500 that's on the east. We have one phase coming up the west, we call Greenlink West, and then Greenlink North will be built roughly a year after that. The first phase will be done in 2027, and I often think as we talk to folks like Steve and others, where we would be if we hadn't built that or planned that infrastructure. We'd probably be years behind in serving this type of load because of the magnitude that's being asked of us. So thank goodness our leadership team had the foresight to build that. I don't think we intended to build that for data center load, but it's certainly beneficial that we are. That line is going to have about $690 million in economic impact throughout the state, create about 4,000 well-paying jobs to build, and it will untap roughly 5,000 megawatts of renewable energy that is otherwise transmission constrained throughout our state. So really, really great investment for the state of Nevada, really great investment to continue not only our ability to serve growing load in the state, but also our reliability as we can start using resources a little bit more effectively between the north and south, and then tap into that renewable energy, which in many cases, a lot of the data center operators that we are negotiating deals with want that type of energy supply. And we've been very creative in our approaches to do so. You've probably seen the news with a couple of Google projects that we built, renewable energy to serve them. The Allegiant Stadium is 100% renewable served. It was the first Super Bowl, I think, in history for that to happen. So we've got creative products out there that we have teams that have built for these types of customers, and we're pretty proud of that. But I guess the context of what we're seeing, we're roughly between those two utilities about a 9,000 megawatt system. So that's on a hot summer day. Our system peaks at 9,000 megawatts. That's what we have to build to, right? We have to make sure that we have enough energy to serve that peak demand on the hottest day of the year. We have currently, and I think this number is actually probably not as accurate as I'd like it to be because we just signed a few deals, I think a couple weeks ago, but we're between 4,000 and 5,000 megawatts of new load that we've already signed. So that's already nearly or about half of what we currently have in this system. Historically, a fast-growing utility bumps around at about a 2 to 3% growth rate. So think about 5,000 new megawatts of load coming on our system It's unprecedented. And so we've got a lot of teams that are working on not only building the infrastructure to serve that when it comes to electric facilities like transmission and distribution, we're also going to have to look at generation facilities to build that. And we're going to have to build it as quickly as possible because we get pressure from our customers to do so, and rightfully so, right? This is the cutting edge of new technology in the country. So massive numbers, that's what we've signed. We currently have probably 22,000 megawatts of requested load in our queue. So we've signed roughly 4 to 5, and we have another 20 plus that are requesting services. That's triple our current system, right, or double our current system. So these are unprecedented times. We are excited to serve this load. We think there's huge opportunity here to do so, and we'll continue to pursue options to do that, but we have to look at it from the perspective that we cannot impact our existing customer base with these types of projects, right? Because one of Nevada's strengths is, I would argue, our electricity rates. We're very competitive on the West Coast. That allows us to continue economic development and growth in our state. We cannot impact that number. So as we develop new programs and new agreements to serve these loads, we have to look at it from that premise that we make sure that we are protecting our existing customers.
So, and Jeff, I think that's a great segue into one question that I hear a lot is all this infrastructure investment that's happening. How does that translate to an existing customer in terms of their rates? Are they, can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, great question. So as we develop service options for some of these largest customers, and I want to put some different perspective into that too. You know, it wasn't more than 3, 4, 5 years ago when we had data center customers coming to us and say, we want to build a facility for 100 megawatts, and at that time that's a pretty big load, right? Electric load. We are now having customers that come to us and ask us for 1,000 megawatts at a clip. So think of that. That's 10x growth just over the last several years, and I think that probably relates to the density these guys are seeing, right? So what we are doing now to make sure that we protect our existing customer base is we are working on agreements, and certainly these gentlemen are aware of them, where we essentially the network upgrades that we would otherwise build that kind of benefit everybody as we build out for these types of projects will be paid for upfront by the customer at 100%. And so that protects us and our existing customers to make sure that those investments will be used to the fullest extent for what we build them for. And so that's the transmission and distribution networks that we will build. That's what carries the capacity. We are now going to have agreements in place where our customers will have to sign long-term commitments to the energy supply for those facilities, right? Because we will need to build generation. And we've already done some of this, as I referenced, with the Google facilities, the Allegiant Stadium, some others, where these are long-term commitments to the energy supply so that the generation investments that we need to make on behalf of these customers are also protected. These are just staggering numbers, and we just have to make sure that the risk is mitigated and that we do it carefully.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, it's crazy to hear some of that again, and I'm familiar with it, but every time I hear you say it, it's pretty incredible. Going back to Colby's really good synopsis, I feel like, of some of the struggles with water. You mentioned liquid cooling, Stephen. What are we doing to react to some of the scarcity of water in the valley here? Like, how's the industry reacting to some of that, and maybe specifically what does that look like in Southern Nevada? And I'll pose it to either of you, I guess.
Well, for us, when it was an interesting thing that we went through, because we were founded in Utah in the West Jordan area, and a larger, Facebook actually, since that's public, tried to buy that space earlier, and the city turned them away because of the water usage that they were anticipating they would need. We probably are 3 times the size of what the Facebook data center would be or would have been. And when we were first laying out the design, we're going through putting all the numbers together, and I send them to our CEO, and it's millions of gallons, a month, right? You just can't even grasp how much water it'd be going through. And so we just made a decision right then and there that we weren't going to do it. And there were multiple reasons. One is that you already are dependent upon the utility, but we have a redundancy because we have generators there to back us up. There's no such thing when it comes to water. And so you can bring in a couple of different pipelines so that you're protecting yourself from redundancy. But what if there's a drought and they start cutting? I mean, everybody here has dealt with that, to where they start reducing the amount of water that you can consume. Then we're essentially, as a business, being held hostage by that. Yeah. And so we just designed accordingly to make it to where it's just not an issue. Now, as far as chilled water and liquid cooling, those are all contained systems. So once that pipe is filled, that's it. We're not consuming any additional water.
So then you're just using fire flow, domestic water. That's what you're focused on, which I think is. Stephen, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. I mean, we had a long line of sight to the regulations that were coming. I was on the business committee with Dave Johnson, Rod Martin, David Strickland, and others. So we were already kind of kicking the tires on different solutions even before liquid cooling was coming to pass. So currently our design that we're building on the 215 is a closed loop system, like Steve said, similar to that. You have an array of chillers that are all air cooled, so you do consume more power, so that does go to on Jeff's side, so there is an uptick on power. There is a metric in data centers that we use called PUE, which is the power usage effectiveness, and it's essentially a ratio of the sum total of power used for the facility versus just what goes to the server cabinets. So it's kind of a ratio of looking at how efficient your mechanical system is. The closer to 1 you are, the more efficient you are. So, on worst case scenarios, maybe you're between 1.3, 1.5, kind of in that range. So as long as you have the power to back it up, it is what it is. Even in jurisdictions like in Georgia, where we have an abundance of water, we're still using the closed loop air-cooled system. So sustainability is important to us. I think it kind of was an impetus to do that. Our customers, the hyperscale customers of the world, sustainability initiatives are also important to them. So it really fit with the times, and that was our solution.
Yeah, just all the complexity and the different variables. It is just so interesting to see the innovation, and I do feel like the collaboration that needs to happen, that is happening. And again, I think it's great here. Nevada's always been on the edge. We find the edge. That's where growth is. That's where opportunity happens. And so again, just thanks for being up here today and being clairvoyant. And unfortunately, of course, we only had a short amount of time. That we could probably talk for hours about some of this stuff, but we do want to open up some of this to questions from the audience, because this is something that is, again, dominating, I feel like, some of the headlines, and there is a lot of information out there. So I think we are going to transition to some questions if anyone has any.
Yes, I'm back here. For the people with their hands up, write them down, and you may make it. You may not. First, I'd like quickly thank Mariana Honeycutt. She put all of this together, gets all of the credit. She herded all the cats, and thank you. Yay. Lisa Cole, Assemblyman, missed the introduction earlier, and literally living legend, home builder, land buyer in Las Vegas, Robert Lewis, good friend of my father's, is here today. So thank you, Robert, for being here. Mr. Brigger, most of the arrows are coming to you today.
Shocking, Dan, shocking.
These are all These are all their words, not mine. Yeah, right. There's a recent PUCN filing encouraging utilities to work with private companies to develop power infrastructure to mitigate risk for us, the ratepayers. What role do you see for partnerships and microgrids?
Yeah, great question. And those discussions are ongoing with a lot of folks, right? So I think essentially what we've had, and I would say it's mostly on the development side. We haven't had a whole lot of operators approach us yet for this scenario, but we have developers that are considering building generation on site that would be built out ahead of our transmission to serve customer load. We are always open to those types of discussions, but I think we always have to put it under a couple of different scenarios, right? Number one is it generation that we would like to eventually own or operate in our system. Most of the generation that's been presented to us right now, I would argue, is not. It's expensive generation. And then second piece of that is as I had mentioned earlier, we need a long-term commitment to the energy offtake of that generator. And so we need a customer at the table. We have, and so those conversations are ongoing. We're always open to those types of discussions with our customers and developer friends, but I think we always have to look under those two premises, right? Is it something that we'd want to operate long-term? And is there a customer willing to take the energy supply from it long-term?
Can I?
Of course you
Can I
can.
add to that?
He's not allowed to ask any questions, by the way.
You can ask questions to the panelists, even better.
So our Utah site, we've had to move forward with self-generation, but based on the fact that we weren't going to get what we needed until the 2030s, and you know, it was important for us to be able to stay in business, so we had to start generating our own power. But and Stephen, I'd be curious about your take on this as well. But we have zero interest in being a microgrid, if you will, in from the point of view of connecting to Rocky Mountain Power's network. We prefer to just be islanded, not have to deal with. If I had to go through the point that I'd have to create an interconnect, that's 3 to 5 years just worth of paperwork and everything and engineering and stuff like that before we get there. So we've gone ahead and you know, within a year we'll have a 200 megawatt facility that will be generating our own power on site. And so for us, it's meaningless for us to consider that kind of connection, and exactly for the same reasons that you were giving, because it's not in our best interest to build something that large that makes it cost effective like you would see.
Yeah, I mean, we have kicked the tires on microgrids and self-generation. Obviously, there are some air quality concerns with doing that. If you're going to have a natural gas plant, whether DAQ or NDEP, there's a lot of hoops to go through in that regard. And we have found that our customers ultimately do want to be grid connected because of the reliability of that. So if anything, it might be a short-term bridge, but then you're facing the financial commitments, like you said, to build $1 billion plant that you might only need for a couple of years. You know, so I think ultimately the grid is really where you want to be.
Yeah, I would agree, and at least from my perspective, and we've worked a lot with pretty large hyperscalers in our market going back 10 plus years. How long is that commitment willing to be made for this more expensive generation, right? And so that's what we have to look out for as a utility. We're long planning, right? We're 20 years out on our planning. And so there might be some demand for somebody to pay a premium for generation today, but in 5 years, is that still there? And what do you do with that asset if it's not? So there's a lot of things you have to consider in all this.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. Both of you. You know, because we have an ROI that fit into it that covers it in a couple of years. But I do want to brag about this. We will also have the cleanest natural gas generation in the country when we're done, even cleaner than what you do.
We promise to be nice up here.
Maybe we need to work with Novva some more, huh?
Jeff, there was
I'm on Steve's speed dial, by the way. Trust me.
Yes, yeah.
Jeff, there was a question.
love
Does
Jeff.
NV Energy stratify, their word, not mine, use charges for big users like SNWA or the water municipalities do? If you use more power, do you pay more, is the question.
Kind of, right? So as I had mentioned, Dan, most of these customers take service at high voltage via our transmission network. So when a customer takes that type of service, they make a significant investment on their side of the equation, but they avoid our distribution network when they do so. So they're not going to be paying that distribution component on their bill, just the transmission component, right? Plus all the other stuff that's on there, right? The public policy programs, things of that nature. So yeah, they're going to pay a lower price, but they make a significant investment to get to that lower price.
Stephen, you touched on this a little bit, but let me ask it specifically. Switch has proven that alternative procurement models work in Nevada. What is realistic in-service timelines for NV Energy's current process if bridge solutions are used? And you can explain the question a little in color and context too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll take that first from a supply chain perspective. You know, when you take the sort of the hockey stick growth that the whole market was seeing, you had hyperscalers essentially buying out every generator position at every factory known to man, even overseas. So we're sort of competing with the Amazons and Googles who want to buy thousands of generators. And so good luck to switch. So we did have to kind of look at some creative solutions on both generators and chillers and things of that nature, kind of really far out. So our facilities that are built, going to be built on this 215, most of those are going to come online the middle of next year. We call those now 16, 17, 18. Beyond that, we're a few years after that. I'd say we're trying to keep an eye on the market, you know, a couple years out, and these facilities take a long time to construct. I think the other long lead time that we have to contend with is on transformers. When you talk about 500 kV or 525 kV transformers, those are like 4-year lead times they could be. 3 or 4 years.
Transmission circuit breakers, right?
And
Yep.
circuit breakers, so yeah, so you really have to have a long line of sight, a long runway on when is this facility going to go live and kind of plan backwards from that.
That's great.
Let me follow up another one, Stephen. Switch is the gold standard for utilizing private market capital to deploy its own infrastructure when needed. Rather than relying on Jeff Brigger, NV Energy, has Switch seen existing NV Energy system and continue to get online earlier? Does the last part make sense? Does that make sense?
I'm not sure I understand the question fully yet.
Switch is the gold standard utilizing private market capital to deploy its own infrastructure when needed. Rather than relying on NV Energy time constraints, what benefits has Switch seen in existing NV Energy systems in continuing to deploy data centers?
Yeah, I mean, it really goes back to the same point. If we were to build a microgrid or a natural gas plant, it's a multi-year process. And I think GreenLink and others would already be essentially online or very close to it. The facilities that we have there on 215 have been in the planning stages for 2 or 3 years themselves, just to do a 1.5 mile transmission line extension. So these things are really long projects. So I think even though we do have financial resources, ultimately NV Energy is our gold standard. So I think we would want to rely on the grid versus building something on site.
I got about 3 or 4 different questions just specific to natural gas and using that to get early power, and is it cleaner in the grid and that type of questions. Is that a Novva question?
I'm happy to take it. I think
Jeff, you take it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think I mentioned it earlier, right? And Stephen just discussed the most of the generation that's available right now that you could get and get up and running in the next couple of years is stuff that it's probably more expensive to run, not as clean, perhaps. And so I think there's some limitations around that, Dan, and I think that you, as mentioned, how long are folks willing to pay that premium? That's what we have to weigh as a risk when we explore those type of opportunities. I don't think we're certainly open to having those discussions with folks, but I think we've got to make sure our customers are protected.
I have 4 or 5 questions on nuclear energy. Whoever wants it.
Yeah, good luck.
Is that the answer? Perfect.
I was going to say,
to all you people that answered that,
I know,
good luck.
Yeah, Dan, I mean, that's a good question. But we just don't know, right? I mean, there could be some promising technology coming with these small modular reactors. I don't think Nevada's going to be an early adopter when it comes to nuclear. I think we probably need to see folks do something way out ahead of us.
And part of that too is it's like there's a little bit of talk with the idea that you can put an SMR in your backyard, like at a data center or something along those lines. But conversations we've had based on the free area that you have to have away from anybody that's a resident. It just doesn't quite get you there. And then the other aspect of it is who's really going to operate it. We aren't. That's significantly different than what we would be like what we're doing now.
Yeah, and the scale of those two, one SMR is like 50 megawatts.
If you're lucky.
You know, you would need a lot of them to come close to, like, say, if you're going to have an 800 megawatt campus, you would need a lot of them.
Yeah, I think we're still pretty far out on those two, probably at least another 8 years or so.
Not that we're not interested.
Yeah.
Where does solar fit into the picture here? And another question, but why did the Ivanpah solar plant fail? I don't know if that's...
Yeah, I don't know if I could talk about the Ivanpah. We didn't buy energy from that facility, but I think solar is a big part of it, right? We're self-developing for the first time our own solar and battery storage facility in Northern Nevada as we speak. It's being constructed, 400 megawatts of solar and 400 megawatts of battery storage. As I had mentioned, we're building GreenLink, which is going to untap 5,000 megawatts of potential renewable energy throughout the state that I think would be essential as we develop generation to build out for these customers. We finished up a request for proposals for renewable energy earlier this year, and we had quite a few submissions in that. So I think it still plays a valid role in our generation type. We do have a state renewable portfolio standard, state law, 50% by 2030. We were at 47% last year. So I think we'll continue to see solar, geothermal, and perhaps others play a part as we move forward.
This question is great, probably for an entire program, but we'll ask it anyhow. Should we consider trading Yucca Mountain to the feds in exchange for them building desal plants in Southern California, giving us all more water? Colby?
No, thank you. Anything that has to do with Yucca Mountain is incredibly complicated. We are separately exploring opportunities to partner. I will tell you that the federal government is not the limitation on the ability to build desalination in Southern California. It's state regulations, the California Coastal Commission. We are working on the Pure Water Project with Southern California, the Metropolitan Water District, LA County Sanitation District. There is still a very large amount of treated wastewater that goes into the Pacific Ocean, 3-4 times more than what Southern Nevada uses every year. That is cheaper to develop than seawater right now, from both a capital standpoint and an operating standpoint. So we have a partnership looking at partnering on the largest reuse project in Southern California. That water is expensive, though. We wholesale water to our member agencies, again, Henderson Water District, North Las Vegas, and Boulder City, for less than $400 an acre foot. The capital cost of the Pure Water Project is over $2,800 an acre foot. So, like Jeff was talking about, trying to not abandon our existing customers and the rates they're used to, we can carefully blend in new resource. We can't go all out and say there's no water restrictions and let's turn back all these things that everyone wants to act like they're not living in the Mojave Desert, because we'll price out all of our existing customers. So there's a role for mixing some of that in, but desalination is not the panacea for our community.
Thank you. Stephen, I think this is a great one for you. Maybe even you sent it up to me. We're seeing an increase in developers, formerly just industrial developers, interested in building spec data centers. Is this a sign of the times, and can they pull it off?
Good luck. Yeah.
Our work is done here.
I mean, again, Switch has been in existence since the year 2000. I think we were uniquely positioned to take advantage of the uptick because we had, our foundation established, as well as just a very innovative group of employees. It's really difficult. It takes a lot of really smart people, and it takes a lot of capital. So I think some of the things that we do see from Jeff's end, there's a lot of people trying to capitalize on the gold rush and submit power studies. So it's really difficult for them to filter through who's real, who's not. Ultimately, they want an end user operator tied to that project to really take it seriously. So some of the 40, 50 gigawatts that you might see in the pipeline, how much of that really is going to come to fruition? So I think, fortunately for us, we have name recognition, we have a track record, so there's some comfort level that when we're associated with the project, we can actually deliver on that project and the load will materialize ultimately.
Ultimately, that you guys bring customers, right, that are willing to commit to those long-term
Yeah.
energy plays, right? And I think that's essential.
Thank you. From a UNLV student, will all of this data center power have any impact of any power we provide to the Strip going forward?
No.
But kind of explain how it's not taking from the customers.
I knew you were going to ask that.
UNLV students demand real answers.
Yes. No. I mean, look, we're not going to risk serving existing customers with these new developments, right? So anything that comes new will be required to have additional assets to be able to serve the load.
Brent, do you have any more follow-up questions in your presentation?
I don't. I would give you all an opportunity if there's anything else that we didn't talk about that you wanted to bring up. And again, like I think it's just really great that we have this group willing to come up here and have like a really honest conversation. I think the development community always benefits from clarity. And I think there's a lot of clarity that you can see in just the conversations that are happening locally between public, private. I think that's just, again, the edge that Nevada's great at. I think we come to the table and we find a way to barter a deal. And I think that's just great. So I do want to maybe extend one last, if there's anything else you want to talk about as a group.
I would just say maybe take the opportunity to thank NAIOP. The evaporative cooling moratorium has been one of the more difficult things we've done in terms of making sure the future of water sustainability is there. Your guys' support has been invaluable to implementing that both locally and at the legislature. And I would just leave you with, this is not the only place we're asking the community to do hard things. No more golf courses, more punitive rates, septics. If Councilman Seebach is still here, he'll tell you what a nightmare that's been. He himself knocked on somebody's door for us to get a septic conversion that was the last one needed for a big capital project. So it's really an all hands on deck approach. I know that the water needs are overshadowed by the power needs on this panel, but it really does take all of us making wise decisions and keeping our water footprint small to enable all this to keep moving, and we appreciate your partnership.
I just wanted to add to a big thank you, Brent, for facilitating this discussion, and the Steves for being a part of it, Colby as well, and really just for the NAIOP in general. We're involved both north and south, and a big part of the reason I think Brent alluded to this was the ability to be able to carry our message and let people kind of hear all sides of the story. So I just wanted to thank you guys for the opportunity to do so.
Steve?
Yeah, just honored to be here again and to have this platform to answer questions and, to speak on behalf of Switch. And so Vegas is our home. Very happy to be here. I'm based here. Most of our executive team is based here. So we're just very happy to be part of this panel. Thank you.
Yeah, excuse me. I'm just proud of myself for not throwing up while I was up here. But no, I very similar to what Stephen was saying earlier. We're excited to be in Nevada. We're growing. We've made a very large purchase on some land and are working at bringing in some more power. And one of the main drivers here really is what you guys bring to it. The vendors and the subcontractors that we've worked with on our past project, is what makes us continue to work. And the same thing that goes with Nevada Energy. We haven't had to worry about doing any kind of self-generation here. because of the planning and everything that they've done. But thanks again for the opportunity to come here and regardless of me being up here. So.
Well, and I know one thing that we've talked about is like, what does this look like for 5 to 10 years? And I think it's a consensus that this is not a flash in the pan. This seems like something that we're going to see for the next decade and maybe more so. So probably the ask to the audience is just go engage your community, continue to talk about this, like be a problem solver, find ways to move this thing forward and work together. And yeah, thanks to this panel. This is awesome. I appreciate the opportunity to be up here, and nice job. This is good. So we'll leave it at that.
Good job.
Thank you all for the candid discussion this morning. That was great, great to listen to. Once again, thank you to Carpenter Sellers Delgado Architects for sponsoring this morning's breakfast meeting. I hope to see you all at our next breakfast program here October 16th, and then also at our bus tour on November 13th. And one last shout out to our 2025 DLI graduates. Congratulations, guys. Thank you, everyone.